Hey, everybody on. Toot, 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 toot. No one's on YouTube. Okay. Um, amazing, isn't it? I scheduled it for 7:40, which is basically 10 minutes ago. I deliberately waited 10 minutes before coming here, thinking at least 10 or 11 people would be here, and no one. I did shorts saying that I would be here. I really don't know what else I can do to get this YouTube going. I really don't. Um, even the topic, is something that all people in the UK should wish to discuss. Child grooming gangs, Islam, child molestation, and Islam racism. Yeah, I mean, and the thing with it is that the Muslims won't bother coming unless the non-Muslims come. The only reason why the Muslims come is because there's at least 40 to 50 non-Muslims discussing this subject. And then as soon as that happens, then you start getting the Muslims coming as well to discuss it. And I'm just so surprised, that the non-Muslims don't even wish to come and discuss this subject. I see them, quite a lot going to other people's channels to discuss this subject. And other people's channels that are, how can I put it? Well, not as honest and open and as qualified to discuss this subject. Me, as a non-Muslim and as a Christian, who also knows quite a lot about Islam, will openly discuss this subject. The fact that they go and molest these children, that Islamically they're not doing anything wrong. Islamically, they're doing what the Quran tells them to do. Islamically, they're doing what Allah tells them to do. Islamically, they're doing what Muhammad told them to do. Okay, the Sunnah and Sharia as well. 65 of the Quran, 424 of the Quran, all tells them that, when they're in the situation they're in, regardless of what country it is or whether it's an Islamic country or non-Islamic country, all of that is immaterial. Whilst they're in a country like the UK that they're in at the moment and they're still under the UK laws, they are allowed to go and get the non-Muslim children, okay, and rape them, abuse them, murder them, do what they want with them. And Islamically, that's perfectly fine. And you won't hear that from Muslims who talk about it. They won't discuss that side of it because they don't want to admit that these people who are doing this disgusting, totally disgusting, nasty thing are not doing anything wrong Islamically. Crazy situation. No one's here again as usual. No one requesting to come up. 3 people, which again is disappointing. As I say, you need more than that. I mean, again, it's more disappointing because this is, as I say, this is a subject, especially for people in the UK, to discuss this subject, and yet you see channels, at the moment talking about Muhammad Hijab and Bushra, where he turned that woman into his own personal prostitute. 100, 150, 200 people or more, plus sometimes, in those channels. Um, isn't the molestation of little children a more serious topic to discuss? Yes, it is. So why aren't people here to discuss it? I don't know. Americans, David Wood, apostate prophet, who's only just turned to be a Christian, by the way. David Wood, God Logic, 3, 4, 5,000 people watch their views and channels, even though they discuss the same thing over and over and over. Now, I can guarantee you, out of those 3, 4,000 people, there is going to be a large majority from the UK watching those streams. And yet, a UK man does a stream that's all about the UK, that's all about the problems of Islam in the UK. And where are those? I mean, let's say, for instance, from the 2000 that God Logic sort of regularly gets, or David Wood regularly gets. Let's say 100 of those are from the UK. You know, where are you 100 people who constantly watch David Wood and constantly watch God Logic? 9 times out of 10 talking to Muslims in the USA and about USA problems. Where are you all when it comes to a UK man wishing to discuss Islam in the UK and problems of Islam in the UK? Seriously. Seriously, where seriously, I just don't understand the mentality. I don't understand the intelligence. I don't understand your. Um, I just don't understand any of it. Really, I don't. You're more interested and you're more worried about what is happening in the USA than you are in your own country. That says a lot, really. It does really say a lot about the state of the UK, and why the Muslims are going to just take it over as easy as peasy as that. And yeah, I mean, it really does. It really does say heaps and bounds about the state of the UK. And basically, just don't give a shit attitude, and I don't really give a damn as long as I'm okay. Fuck it, basically. Um, it's amazing. It really is amazing. There's still thousands and thousands of children in the UK being raped and abused every single day. And yet, as I say, it's more important to them to listen to God Logic arguing with an American Muslim than it is to come and discuss this problem and deal with the problem that's on their own doorstep. You know, the attitude of bury your head in the sand and hopefully it will go away, or bury your head in the sand and hopefully nothing will fuck you up the behind. You know, it's a stupid attitude to have, especially when it comes to Islam. Um, you know, as I say, at the moment, there's been 2 incidences in the UK just recently, Mohammed Hijab and Bushra, where he's turned her into a prostitute, and now she's had to leave the UK and go and live, in a different country for fear of her own life. This was a Muslim on a Muslim, and as I say, she's now had to leave. Or, well, I don't know if she's actually left yet. The last I heard was that she was thinking of leaving because of the threats on her life. And then there's Candid with Lubina, who again was discussing this same topic actually of child Pakistani child molestation gangs. And clearly she was getting better responses than what I'm getting. Uh, she's in the UK. She's a Pakistani. I think she's still a Muslim. She might be been an ex-Muslim, but clearly she was getting a lot better responses on her channel than I'm getting on mine. because uh, the last video I saw of her was talking about that last stream she was doing, and she's been doing it for quite some time apparently. And the Pakistani Muslims in the UK were beginning to threaten her and threaten her children. And threaten their lives, and warning her that unless she stops talking about this subject, they're going to unalive her and unalive her child. Um, and as I say, this is still going on. They're still raping our children. They're still, giving our children drinks and drugs to rape them. They're still unaliving our children. And yet, as I say, the UK population would rather either sit and listen to God Logic argue with a Muslim in America, or go and listen to Paul Thorpe talk about politics and reform and Labour. Who doesn't even know anything about Islam in the slightest. And as soon as a UK man with knowledge of Islam, with knowledge of Muslims, wishes to discuss it, and has been wishing to discuss it now for at least the past 2 years, I really have been wishing to debate this subject for more than the past 2 years on this channel, because it is a channel. I can't do it on TikTok. This is a subject that I can't discuss on TikTok. Surah 65 ayah 4 of the Quran. You cannot touch that subject on TikTok because they will ban you immediately. Child molestation. You can't touch it on TikTok. Because again, it will get banned immediately. But it is a subject that can be discussed on YouTube. And as I say, I've been wanting to. I've also been wanting for Muslims to come up and discuss this subject with me, openly and honestly and truthfully. But like I say, unless the UK population get behind me to support me and start to come into these streams in numbers, the Muslims won't bother. The Muslims won't bother to come in to discuss this subject. And of course, without the Muslims coming in to discuss this subject, there's nothing I can do. There really is nothing I can do. I can sit here and tell you over and over, how they they're raping our children and molesting our children, following the Quran and following the Sunnah, and following Allah and following Sharia. But as I say, without the interaction from other Muslims, it's all pointless. And in the meantime, our children are going to continue to keep getting raped and destroyed by these filthy animals, whilst everyone else sits back and watches God Logic argue with an American Muslim in America. Whilst Islam takes over the UK, whilst our children end up being totally destroyed. I just don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Even when I do my prayers, again, I just cannot understand. Yeah, it's exactly, Johnny. Only 108, exactly. Only 180 subs after 5 years. Only 4 or 5 people, and after billions of. Seriously, I don't understand what is happening with the UK, what is happening with the people in the UK. It's, as I say, I see other channels that discuss things, and they get thousands of people, and they're talking rubbish about rubbish, and half of it has nothing to do with the UK. A lot of it is USA and stuff like that. Or Mohammed Hijab and Bushra. Mohammed Hijab. turning this girl into a prostitute. Yeah, so what? You know, the UK channels have been discussing that now for at least 2 months. He didn't do anything wrong. Islamically, he didn't do anything wrong. He lied to the woman. 328 of the Quran, he's allowed to lie to the woman. He turned her into his own prostitute. 424 of the Quran, he's allowed to turn her into his own prostitute. And yet, still, those channels get 150, 200, 250 people watching them, talking about that, you know, um, when our children are still being raped. While they're watching that, there's another 10 children being raped by a Muslim gang. Uh, I mean, I mean, I don't know. I really, I don't know. I don't know. As I say, this other lady, Lubana, Candid with Lubana, she's been discussing this subject on her channel, apparently for quite some time. But it's now got to the point where they've started to attack her and forced her to stop talking about it. And obviously, apparently, from she gets thousands of viewers as well, apparently. I mean, I don't know the exact figures, I can't say because I didn't actually see any of her channel. But again, they're all sorts of Muslims. The Muslims are discussing this. So if the Muslims discuss it en masse in the UK, what is wrong with the rest of the UK population? Why don't the rest of the UK population want to discuss the mass rape of mainly British white children? What seriously? What is the problem with this being discussed? It just seems like people don't even want to talk about it. They don't even want to. It's like, oh no, we can't even talk about that. If you talk about it, then you're wrong. You're racist. You're Islamophobic. You're in the wrong for even talk. Seriously. And now I've gone down to naught viewers. Wow. Wow. The most I went up to was 5, and then it went down to 0, and now it's just gone to 1. What's wrong with StreamYard, Johnny? I don't understand. You see, I mean, are you allowed to have guests on normal YouTube? Can you invite guests up just on normal YouTube? I don't know. I thought in order to have guests up, then you needed to do it through StreamYard, because they do the link where they can request to come up. How does it work on YouTube? How do you get guests up on just normal YouTube? I don't know. See, that's the problem. I've streamed on YouTube. I've streamed live on YouTube, but there doesn't seem to be, um, you know, the thing there to bring guests up on just ordinary YouTube. Um, that's what I say. I mean, I'm not computerized enough to be able to work all that out. I'm sure there is a way that you can do it, just because, as I say, I've seen other channels and they do it. But I think what you have to do is you have to send the link to people. I think, don't you? When you're just on ordinary YouTube, I think you actually have to send the link out to people. And I don't know how to do all that. I ain't got a clue how to do all that garbo, you know. So at least I can work StreamYard. That's the thing. I can work it. I can operate StreamYard. I know how it works. I know how it operates. And likewise, as I say, I can link that then to the YouTube and then still work and operate it to bring guests up. And I don't think it would really matter, to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe it would. I don't know. But as I say, I would have to. You need to message to debate. Hold on, I can't quite see the rest of that message. No, it's hidden behind the share your referral link as usual. You need to message. Let's see. I'll send it. Oh, right. You need to message a Mussy and get them here to debate. Oh, I need to message a Mussy. Yeah, no, Snow. What I was saying was because Johnny said StreamYard. So, it's a problem doing it with StreamYard. That's why no one's coming, I think. I'm not sure. And I was saying, well, yeah, I can't do it any other way. I can't do just YouTube on its own. Because if you do just YouTube on its own, then you can't invite guests up. Or at least I don't know how to invite guests up on YouTube on its own. That's what I was saying. I think in order to get guests on YouTube on its own, you need to send a link out directly to the people for them to actually then click on the link and then come up. And I don't know how to do all that, Garbo. I'm not technically minded to do all that garbo. But I mean, at the end of the day, I shouldn't need to. That's the point with it. I mean, when you're trying to discuss topics such as child molestation, um, you know, uh, which has been a huge problem in the UK, and it's still a huge problem in the UK. It shouldn't matter whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whether you're atheist, whether you're agnostic. None of that should matter. All that should matter is that obviously, if you live in the UK, you should have some view on this child molestation problem, and you should wish to discuss the problem because it is still a problem, it is still going on, and it's not going to stop. The government are not going to stop it. The police are not going to stop it. The Muslims who are doing it are certainly not going to stop it because it's jihad. That's the point. They're doing jihad. They've already started the jihad war by doing this child molestation. And this is why people need to discuss this, especially with people who understand and know the problem. It's no good, as I say, they go on other channels in their hundreds to discuss Mohammed Hijab and Bushra, turning her into a prostitute. So what? Yes, okay, that happened. So what? What about our children? What about the jihad that's already started against each and every one of us? They don't care. They go to God Logic's channel, in their hundreds. He gets 3,000 nearly every, and I'm pretty certain all those 3,000 are not from America. I can guarantee you at least 50 to 100 of those people are from the UK. And they'll happily sit and watch him for 2, 3, 4 hours, ask USA Muslims, what is the Injil? Big deal. What the hell the Injil is? What about our children in the UK? God, dear, oh dear. While they're sitting there for 2 or 3 hours listening to an American argue another American about what the Injil is, another 50 of our children are being raped. And that's what so infuriates me, is that they give more of a damn about an American talking to an American about what the Injil is, rather than coming and debating, about child molestation. Um, uh, you know, um, Seriously, it's frustrating. Snow, there's no debate topic. It's to discuss the child molestation, UK Pakistani child grooming gang molestation. That's the debate and the topic. Um, but it doesn't matter what the debate topic is. No, I could put up any debate topic at the end of the day. Stand up and show your willy debate topic. It wouldn't matter. They would still rather go and listen to an American arguing against an American what is the Injil. You know, anything but discuss what is happening in the UK and what is happening to our children in the UK. And basically what is happening, how they've taken over the UK, and no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit that they are, ready to take the UK over with minimal fuss and force, and no one gives a shit, basically, from what I can see. As I say, they'd much rather go and listen to a Yankee argue with another Yankee. What's he in jail? What's he in jail? What's he in jail? Crazy. Crazy, really, it is. As I say, the only one who's been discussing this at the moment in the UK with any sorts of numbers has been Candid with Lubina or Candid with Lubana. I can't remember a correct name, but it's something like that. Candid with Lubana, Candid with Lubina. She's a Pakistani herself, and she's been discussing this on her own channel with plenty of Muslims coming in to discuss it with her. Child molestation, but again, because she's a Muslim, she's not going to go to the root of the problem. It's not Pakistanis that's the root of the problem. It's not Somalians that's the root of the problem. It's not ethnicity that's the root of the problem. It is Islam. That's the root of the problem. Because it's Islam that tells these people to do this. It's the Quran that tells these people to do this. It's Sharia that tells these people to do this. It's Muhammad who tells these people to do this. And it's all of those things that tell these people that it's okay to do this. You're not doing anything wrong. Everything you're doing is perfectly fine and perfectly okay in the sight of their God. Alleluia. To go and give these children drugs and alcohol so that they can rape them, pass them round and rape them again and again and again is okay as far as they're concerned. And they're going to keep on doing it. Why are they going to keep on doing it? Because everyone in the UK who can turn around and say, it's not okay, stop doing it, and rather than listening to God logic, ask, what's in jail? I'll give up. I really do. 30 minutes now. 4 people. I think it went up to 7 at one point. As I say, I mean, I seriously, I got, I'm even happy to not just discuss the UK child molestation. Let's discuss 65-4 and the truth behind 65-4 of the Quran. 65-4 of the Quran, according to Sharia and the Sunnah as well. This is the truth of what 65-4 of the Quran says. A Muslim can marry a one-day-old baby. Soon as the baby's born and they see it's a female, a Muslim can marry it. Soon as he paid the dowry or the mahar, which is the money, that child is then his possession, his wife, to do with what he wants to do with. Now, under the current systems that we have, where you can actually tell the sex of a child before it's born, this means that a Muslim can actually marry a fetus. And again, once he's paid the money, that fetus belongs to him, even if it still isn't born yet. How crazy is that? Now, it then goes on to state that that man cannot actually jiggy that child until the child can accommodate him. Don't listen to the rubbish they tell you about she has to be mentally prepared, she has to be physically prepared, she has to be mentally ready, she has to be bollocks. la 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 la. All bollocks. All she needs to be able to do is accommodate his willy. As soon as the child can accommodate his willy, he can jiggy away at her. So if he's quite small and she's quite large, this could be at 4 or 5 years old. The man can be jiggy in the child at 4 or 5 years old. But in Sharia, it actually gives a law about what happens if the man gets carried away. Because before he can actually physically penetrate the child and jiggy them correctly, he can do everything sexually with them other than that. He can touch them, he can kiss them, he can thigh them. This means he puts his willy between her thighs, closes the legs up, and fucks her thighs, basically. Now, if he gets carried away while he's doing this and his willy accidentally slips inside the 1 day old baby, this basically ruptures the wall between the anal capacity and the vaginal capacity. This ruins the child forever. What's the punishment for that if he does that? He pays a fine. He pays a small fine to the parents. That's it. That's his punishment for ruining the 1 day old baby by fucking her when she wasn't ready. This is Islam, folks. This is what I can discuss openly and honestly. This is why people should be on this channel discussing it, including Muslims. Because guess what? There's a lot of Muslims out there that don't know this. I guarantee you. Do you think they, tell Muslims this openly? No, of course they don't. They hide it from the Muslims just like they hide it from everyone else. And of course, all of these rules only apply to children who are Muslim, okay? And children who are, they've married as a correct Islamic wedding. So, anyone who is not a Muslim, such as the British white girls, these rules don't apply. It's a free for all. If they can get hold of a white British baby and they can fuck that white British baby, that's exactly what they will do. And they don't care. They don't care because Allah tells them they're allowed to do it. And this is Islam. Now, the other thing with it is they've been spending money on these children, such as alcohol and drugs and food, and that makes them their right-hand possession. And Nisa 24 of the Quran. Once you are their right-hand possession, they can do whatever they want with you. Yes, Charlie, correct. It is so wrong. This is why, you know. This is why in the UK we need to discuss this now, because I guarantee you, when they take over, they're going to do this sort of thing en masse, and no one's going to be able to stop them. It's going to be too late to stop them then. They're going to be coming into your house by force and raping your children in front of you. If you think it's wrong now, where they're doing it behind your back, wait until they start doing it in front of your face. Because that's the next step. That's the next step of jihad. At the moment, they're still at the step where they have to do it illegally, where they have to do it hidden, where they have to do it so, and hide it. That's why they tried to shut up Lubina talking about it. because they don't want no one talking about it yet, because they don't want people to know yet, because they're not at the stage yet where they can go round and do it openly in front of your face. But that's the next step. In another 5 or 6 years' time, they will be coming round en masse, openly, to your house, busting the door open, walking in, and raping your children in front of you, and your wife, and your sister, and any other females that happen to be in the house. And this is why, it's important that people who are in the UK, instead of going en masse to American YouTube channels and talking about what's the Injil, and was Jesus a Muslim or not, you should be spending a little bit more time talking and worrying about what is happening in your own country and what is happening on your doorstep. Okay? Burying your head in the sand is no good no more. 10 years ago, burying your head in the sand was okay. It still wasn't okay, but, it was passable still. Today, where it's happening in every single town and every single city from the south up to the north, and I guarantee you it is happening in every town and city from south to north, burying the head in the sand is just no good anymore. Because like I say, we aren't that far away now from them forcibly doing it openly, in open sight, in front of each and every one of us. I guarantee you that. We aren't that far away from it. And do you think the police and the government are going to stop it? Really? Seriously? This is another thing that needs to be discussed. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some UK peeps out there who think, okay, eventually the police and the government will wake up and they will stop this. No, they won't. No, they won't. If they couldn't stop it while they had a chance to, what makes you think that they're going to stop it when they don't have a chance to? Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. It's exactly the same thing they did in Pakistan. They did exactly the same thing in Pakistan to the Alawi Christians in Pakistan. Or I'm not sure if they're called Alawi, but something or other. I mean, I'm not even sure if they're Christian. Might have been the Hindus, but it was definitely not Muslims. It was Muslims against another particular sect or religion, and they've done exactly the same thing there. They raped all their children. They raped every single one of their kids, so that that it stops the growth. It stops the growth of that particular society. Those children that they're raping are women who would normally grow up to be proper wives and have their own children and raise their own families. And so if you rape them as their children, you destroy them. You destroy them from growing up and having children and that line continuing. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're targeting white British girls because they know if they rape enough white British girls, that destroys the white British population. It's jihad. And they're not going to stop. It's as I say, It's what Islam teaches them to do. Ah, well, I mean, the one saving fact of it is that, I'm not 20 years old. Um, I mean, if I was 20 years old, I would really be absolutely going lupoid now over this, situation. The fact that, I'm probably less than 20 years left, hopefully, um, you know, it at least, um, gives me some comfort to know that when it does reach the stage where they start doing it forcibly, openly, in front of everybody, I will certainly be virtually ready to move on to my proper house and my proper home, with the Lord Jesus Christ. Yes, Charlie. Yes, Charlie, they can. Males are not out of the equation. If they wish to do the same thing to the men, then yes, they can. Yes, 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 yes. Basically, Charlie, it's you got to remember, as far as they're concerned, they are already in a war. Okay, although they're still living peacefully, that's just a front. In their real world, they are at war with us already. We are the enemy. We are their enemy. That's the truth of Islam. Even when they live peacefully in a country, because they are not the majority, they are the minority, they are still at war with the majority. It's just that they wage the war in a different way. Instead of waging the war openly and in front of your face, they're doing it secretly behind your back and hiding it. So you don't realize you're in war with them until it's too late. And so, of course, that's where, as I say, the Quran comes in, because the Quran 424 legally entitled for you to jiggy jiggy is anybody who is your war captive or your right hand possession. Now, a right hand possession is anyone that they have spent any money on at all. So if a Muslim gives you £1, you're his right hand possession until you pay that money back. And if he says that £1 you've got to pay back is now £1,000,000 to stop being his right hand possession, you have to give him £1,000,000 to stop him being your right hand possession. So they can get you that way by giving you money, or they can get you just because you are their war captive. They're at war with you. You're a non-Muslim. They're a Muslim. They're at war with you. Charlie, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't know, your family and the ages and everything, but if you do have, a largest family and there are still a lot of young people in your family, then yes, Charlie, I would. Yes, I definitely would. Um, the only problem you have is what country you move to. Obviously, the best option would be the USA, because at least in the USA, you have the right to bear arms. And so at least, you can defend yourself in the USA. But yes, Charlie, if your family is, as I say, young ages, under 16s and things like that. Yes, yes, Charlie, yes, 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 definitely, 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 definitely get them out. USA is getting worse, Johnny, yes, but it's still not as bad as the UK. Don't forget, the USA is huge. It is huge. There are parts that are bad now, but there are still parts that are not bad. And like I say, in the USA, you have the right to have a firearm. Not everyone can carry them outside their house, but everyone is allowed to have firearms inside their house. And that, believe me, when it comes to Muslims, that is going to stop the majority of Muslims breaking in your house and raping all your family. I guarantee you. when they know you might have a gun inside that house, they're not readily going to come round and break in. That's what I say. That's the difference between the USA and the UK. They know in the UK the majority of houses ain't got guns or weapons, so they're going to still come round en masse, break in your house and rape all your children and your family and nick all your possessions, knowing that they know that there's not a lot you can do about it to stop it. And as I say, in the USA, that's not going to be the same, because at heart, Muslims are cowards. They are literally cowards, even when they're in a group. So if they know, that a house may have 7, 8, 9 different guns inside it, they're not going to they're not going to go near that house. Okay, I guarantee you. Um, TikTok won't be live now, Escobar, until next week because they got me banned again tonight. A Muslim came up. I think it's the same Muslim that came up the last time, shouting "nigger, nigger, nigger, fuck, 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 cunt, 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 nigger, nigger, nigger." The first time he did it, I ended the live and then restarted it, and then he came up again doing it again under a different account. And instead of ending the live straight away, which is what I should have done, I just had a little chat about how this is how Muslims are. Muslims do this. I've only seen Muslims do it. I don't see anyone else acting this way. And they banned it. They banned it before I finished speaking, Escobar, for hate speech and hate behaviour. Even though I didn't really say anything hateful, all I was doing was telling the truth about what this Muslim had said. And I did appeal it, but they didn't approve the appeal, as usual. So usual thing with Muslims. That's why I've come on here, because I was hoping that at least on here I can talk more openly. I mean, I couldn't discuss all these topics on TikTok. They'd have banned it a long time ago with me talking about child molestation and all those sorts of things, at least I can do that here. But the problem is, as I say, without the um, people who are not Muslims coming here, the Muslims won't come. That's the problem. The only time Muslims come to places like this is when they see 40, 50, 60 plus other people here discussing it. And majority of them Christians or non-Muslims. When they see that and they see them all discussing it, and then obviously the chat gets more busy as well with the more people you have. So then you get more people talking about it in the chat as well. And then that brings the Muslims in. And then, of course, when the Muslims start to come in, then they click on the link to join me on the stage. And that's then when, I can start to debate with them. Why? Why are you Muslims allowed to rape little children? Why does your God allow you to rape little children? Why? Why do you think it's okay to rape little children? But as I say, unfortunately, without the numbers, and never ever does get the numbers, then that's not going to happen. I mean, as I say, it's such a shame because other channels, and mainly American channels for some strange reason, and I can understand why the American channels get 2,000 and 3,000 people watching them, because obviously the majority of those people are in America. And so I can understand Americans watching American channels and American people speaking to other Americans about problems that are happening in America. But when you get a UK man in the UK wishing to discuss the problems that are happening in the UK and the people don't come, That is annoying. As I say, especially when you know that there are quite a few of those people who watch the American channels. They are UK people. They're people in the UK. It's not just Americans who, you know, 3,000 Americans who watch the 3,000 American shows. It's from people from all over the world. There'll be people from India, you know, there'll be people from Pakistan, there'll be people from Australia, and likewise, there will be people from the UK watching those channels. I know there is, because I've seen them in the chat saying, "Oh, I'm in the UK." You know, even their thumbnail name, Christian Cockney. You know, when you see their thumbnail name, Christian Cockney, you can pretty much tell what country they're from. Um, And so, yeah, I mean, as I say, you know, when they go to these American channels constantly, what's the Injil? Was Jesus a Muslim? You know, and they constantly go to that. And yet, people in the UK do a channel, let's discuss child molestation grooming games, nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be heard. And likewise, as I say, because they stay away, the Muslims will stay away. And likewise, the Muslims will continue to get away with it. The Muslims will continue to rape and abuse our Muslims will win because the UK don't care. They'd rather sit and watch an American channel talk about to an American what's the Injil. One day, one day, I know they are going to care. One day, when their door's being kicked off and 15 or 20 Muslims are crowding into their house, nicking everything they can take and raping all of their female, you know, people in the house, that day they will care. Sadly for them and everyone else, that day will be too late to care. But there you go, you know. Again, I mean, it's going to be sad for them because they are not going to know what's hit them. They're going to be sitting there thinking, what the fuck's going on here? You know, what's happening? Whereas if they'd have come to this channel today, maybe it's not going to stop it. Maybe it's still going to happen. But at least when it does happen in 6 years' time, in 10 years' time, at least they're going to have been forewarned about it happening. So at least they're not going to be sitting there thinking, what's going on here? At least they're going to be sitting there thinking, this is what that old fart was on about 6 years ago. Still, never mind, you know. As I say, luckily I don't have any family. Um, or well, I mean, I do have family, but you know, never been sort of close or anything, and certainly no young family. You know, my daughter is 40 years old, and her daughters are, I think the youngest is now about 20, 25, something like that, and they don't have any children. So, you know, again, luckily, it's not really a problem I have to sit and worry about because it's not really going to affect me in any great detail or any great way. Um, if I did have young children, you know, who were growing and then they were having more children and then more children, well, then it really is squeaky bum time. Because, as I say, um, the children today, I think they are probably going to be safe for now, as long as you can keep them away from the Muslim community while they grow. Their children, mm, those I think, children, I think those are the ones who are in most danger of, you know, mass gangs coming round to houses and raping them. Definitely, definitely. I think definitely by the children stage, it's going to be happening, and definitely children stage, it's definitely starting to going to be happening, um, without a doubt, without a doubt. 185 billion%. So, because you've got to remember, you know, these children who they see, as a quick jiggy jiggy, they're not only a jiggy jiggy for them, and then pass them round so everyone can jiggy jiggy them. Once they've finished jiggy jiggying them, they can sell them. Okay, they can make a lot of money from these children who they've taken, jiggy jiggied, and they're still worth a lot of money after that. Because in Islam, yes, Charlie, Muslims can unalive British people in their homes. They can unalive British people anywhere. Anybody who's a non-Muslim, Charlie, they can do whatever they want with them. They can unalive them. They can jiggy jiggy them. They can sell them as slaves. They can keep them as their own slaves. Do whatever they want with them, basically. But going back to the children, they jiggy jiggy them, then they sell them. So they're worth a lot of money to them. Because let's not forget, in Islam, okay, a virgin is not someone who has had sex. Okay, that is not a virgin in Islam. Okay, a child can be, have had 600 men enter her. She is still a virgin in Islam because she hasn't been married. A virgin in Islam is someone who hasn't been married, not someone who hasn't been jiggy jiggied. So that's where the children, as I say, come into it, and they're worth billions of dollars to them because they take the children who have never been married, they jiggy jiggy them, they pass them round, get money from everyone to jiggy jiggy them as well. Once 600 men has jiggy jiggied them, they can then sell the child as a virgin bride, because it's not the fact that 600 men have already jiggy jiggied the child. It's the fact that the child has never been married that makes them a virgin. And the fact that they're still a virgin bride makes them worth thousands in Islam. So every single child they can get is not only worth thousands of pounds to them, it's worth 600 jiggy jiggies to them. So if they go round to a house and there are 3 children in the house and the wife, they can take all 3 children and the wife, unalive the husband, because normally that's what they would normally have to do, obviously. I mean, there are occasions where the husband won't put up a fight, and then they can take the husband and sell him as a slave as well. But normally the husband will put up so much of a fight that they will have to unalive the husband. They then jiggy jiggy the wife, jiggy jiggy all the children, pass them round, claiming money from each person that jiggy jiggies them after they've jiggy jiggied them. And then, as I say, when it comes to the wife, it's no point them, really selling the wife, because they can't get a lot of money for her because she's not a virgin. She's already been married. So they either keep the wife as their own slave and carry on jiggy jiggying her, or they do sell her as a slave, but at a reduced cost, 50 quid or 60 quid, depending on her age and her looks, obviously. But with the children, as I say, with the children who have never been married before, and of course, the younger they are, they can earn a minimum of £1,000 each child. And this is after they have jiggy jiggied them themselves loads of times. Okay? And after all their mates have jiggy them as well. And they've charged all their mates 10 or 20 quid to jiggy them. Then they sell the children as virgins for £1,000 each. 3 children, 3,000 quid, one house. Imagine on an housing estate how much money they could make. And of course, as I say, at the same time of making them loads of money and making them loads of jiggy, they also turn the country into an Islamic country overnight, basically. Overnight. Because, of course, you've got rid of all of the rest of the non-Muslims who would have stood in your way and been against you. So, and as I say, this is a threat now that is going to be here minimum 10 years. Okay. Minimum. We have a minimum of 10 years before this becomes a reality. Okay. I think personally, with the help of the Labour government, it could be a lot less than that. We could be seeing this within possibly the next 4 or 5 years. I hope it is, yes, Charlie, all of the grooming gangs are Muslims. That's the truth of it. They are all Muslims. Okay? Not all of the people inside the gang are Muslims. Obviously, you have some of the people who are inside the gangs who are not Muslims, they're different, religious belief or different ethnicity, atheists, agnostics, or whatever, because they're just filthy pigs who want to get their end away with children. Okay? But the majority of the gangs who run it and get the children and then pass the children round, yes, they are all Muslims. Yes. Because it is an Islamic, that's what I say it is. It's an Islamic thing. That's what Islam teaches them to do. That's what Islam, says they must do. Is part of jihad. That is part of jihad. This is, as I say, what's happening with the grooming gangs is the final stage of jihad before it's in your face jihad. This is still behind your back jihad. So hopefully you don't notice. Hopefully as I say, no one will notice. Until they're at the stage where they can do it in front of your face. That's why when anyone wants to speak out about it, they are doing their best to get them to shut up and shut them down. Even one of their own, threatening them, as I say, to the point of death. Because, as I say, this point for them is crucial. This part time, and the next 4 or 5 years is crucial for them as to whether this is going to be a successful jihad or an unsuccessful jihad. Okay? It could swing either way, obviously. This is the most important part of their jihad. Once they've gone past this part of the jihad, where they've ruined enough children, and then they can do it openly, they don't need to worry no more. They don't need to keep anyone quiet no more, because they'll be doing it openly in front of your face, and they won't care. That's what I say. This part is mostly because they don't want you to know what they're doing. They don't want anyone to know this is the start of jihad. This is the start of their war on the UK. And likewise, neither does the government or the police know. Why do you think the government in this country and the police in this country, not just the Labour, don't forget, because it is the Conservatives and it is Reform as well, it's every single one of those snivelling little, nasty little bastards in Commons and government. Why do you think they're all being quiet about it and shutting up about it? Why do you think they're all, not worrying about no national inquiry so much and shouting and screaming about it so much? Because they know this is the start of the war. The last thing they want is for the normal public to know this is the start of your war. You are already in a war. They don't want you to know that. Of course they don't want you to know that. Because, if they know, if we realized, that we are already at war with the Muslims, with what they're doing to our children, they know, anarchy. It would be anarchy. It would be anarchy. And they don't want that. They don't want anarchy, They want everything nice and peaceful and calm. They want to keep earning their billions every day, like they keep on doing. And they can only do that if there's no anarchy. If there's anarchy, they lose everything. They lose all their money. They lose all their wealth. They lose all their power. They lose everything. So, of course, they don't want anarchy. And that's exactly what it will be if people know the truth. Why do you think they're keeping Tommy Robinson locked up? Because Tommy Robinson is one of the people who can actually tell the truth. He's another person who knows the truth. He knows what's happening. And he can tell people because people listen to him. He's got enough followers who will listen to him. That's why they keep him locked up. That's why when he finishes his sentence in July, do you think they're going to let him out? No, they're not going to let him out. They're going to re-lock him up again on a different trumped up charge. And this is what is so infuriating as well, as I say, because, I know the truth. I can see what's happening. I can see exactly what's happening. I know, that in the UK, we are basically buggered. And unless, you know, um, unless we wake up and we start to deal with this problem, well, we might as well all put on black bin bags and become Muslims, basically. That's the only other option. Become a Muslim. Because obviously that will save your children, at least anyway, from getting raped. It'll save your wife from getting raped. Because obviously they can't do it if you're a Muslim like they are. Yeah, that's the only other option. If you don't have the option to move away, to another country, then that's the only other option. But even if you move away to another country, then, this is still going to be a problem that's going to come up maybe 30, 40 years' time, who knows? But as I say, the only other option is to become a Muslim. Bow down on the floor and say Allah Akbar and bang your head on the floor 5 times a day. You know, put a black bin bag on your wife and put a black bin bag on your female children, and pretend you're a muzzy. And of course, that will at least save your door being booted in 5, 10 years' time by a mindless gang, basically. But yeah, believe me, it is going to be happening. Um, you know, um, definitely. in the UK, it's definitely going to be happening. As I say, I mean, it's going to be worse than that. You know, I mean that actually is going to be the easiest of the problems to deal with in the UK when it does all kick off. You know, the gangs of Muslims coming round, booting your door in, raping all your children and raping your wife and everything in front of you. That's going to be the easiest thing to deal with. Because, of course, on top of that, you know, there's going to be gang on gang violence everywhere. You know, you're going to have Indians fighting with Pakistan, Pakistan fighting with Indians, Shia and Sunni fighting, Salafi and Shia fighting, Salafi and Sunni fighting, you know, atheist, agnostic, army, you know, I mean, it, seriously, it's going to be so hard to describe what it's going to be like, and it's going to be so hard to even imagine what it's going to be like. Because I don't even think, you know, even me painting the darkest pictures of it, I don't even think I've got anywhere near what it's going to be like. Um, But that is basically it, you know, where you've seen those horror movies, you know, the horror movies where there's the zombies, yeah, and you've got all the different separate gangs spread everywhere, yeah. And each time you come against a new gang, you don't know what's going to happen, but usually one gang tries to wipe out the other gang, you know. Um, this is the type of sort of scenario that the UK is going to be facing when Islam tries to take over. It's not going to be nice. It's not going to be, you know, it's going to be problematic for everybody, basically. And it will continue for, to be honest with you, I can't see it ending in the UK. I can't see the wars that will start when Islam tries to ever ending. I think they will continue forever and ever. Um, a little bit like Syria, who's been, you know, as I say, fighting it for thousands of years. A little bit like Yemen, who's currently in it for, at the moment, 70 years and going on. You know, I can't see it ever ending. 600, 700, 1,000 years later, I still think there will be wars on the streets of the UK. Um, you know, due to, as I say, the Islamic dilemma and the Islamic problem. Um, but then I think, as I say, going forward hundreds of years, I think that's a worldwide thing then as well, all because of Islam. But I think as well by that stage that the Lord is going to say enough. You know, I've had enough of this, and the Lord is going to come and stop it all by that stage. So, you know, hopefully, the Lord will come back and stop it before the UK has to go through it for thousands of years. Either way, not my problem by then. I can actually at that stage turn around and do what all the other UK citizens are doing at the moment. Fuck it, I don't give a fuck. Fuck you, Jack. I'm all right. Okay, anyway, folks, it's an hour and 14 minutes nearly. Hour and 14 minutes now. Um, Again, not many people came in to discuss this most important UK problem. Um, as I say, maybe it's the Lord's doing. Maybe the Lord is stopping people coming to discuss this with me because he knows that, you know, if I get viewing figures of hundreds and thousands, then the Muslims will come for me. And maybe that's the Lord's doing in, you know, in protecting me because he wants me to be here a bit longer. Who knows? This is the only, you know, sort of theory that I've been able to come up with. I certainly don't think it's a case of the UK public just don't care. I certainly don't think that. You know, um, I know for a fact there are, a lot of people who do actually care. But as I say, maybe it's a case of where he's keeping me because, I mean, again, obviously, when it does start to kick off, I can be somebody who can make a difference and help people to, stop this and help people to defend themselves. So, yeah, basically. Can't quite see what you've said there, Freddie, unless I put in a little comment to lift you up above. Let me do that before I go so I can see what you said. If you posted a vid before you go live or a few, they would come. I did do that, Freddie. I posted 4 vids before I went live. Actually, uh, seriously, Freddie, I've done everything I can over the 5 years to grow this channel. Um, and as I say, with only 200 subs in 5 years and only 5 or 7 people ever only coming and watching it, then there's definitely divine intervention stopping it from happening for some reason, you know. And as I say, I can only assume that that reason would be that, the Lord doesn't want me to go just yet. Because I know for a fact, that if I got more popular and more people saw these and the Muslims saw it, they would come here and they would unalive me. Okay. No doubt about that whatsoever. As I say, they are currently in the UK going out and attacking other Muslims who speak on this topic. Okay? They are currently going and attacking other Muslims and threatening other Muslims that they will unalive them if they don't stop talking about it. So I've no doubt whatsoever, Freddie, that me being a non-Muslim, they wouldn't even come here and threaten me. They would just come here and do it. The only reason why they threaten the other people is because they're Muslim. So they threaten them first to stop. And the other Muslims who have been threatened have stopped. Why do you think they've stopped? Because they know the threat is real. They know if they don't stop, they will unalive them. Someone like me, they wouldn't even threaten Freddie. They would just come here and unalive me. That's why, as I say, this channel isn't growing. Because as I say, the Lord Jesus doesn't want me just yet to leave this hellhole and go to my correct home. He obviously has plans for me. Yes, I did post on TikTok as well, Freddie. Again, no, doesn't matter. I was on TikTok before I come here, and they banned the TikTok. The Muslims came up again, swearing, cussing, nigger this, nigger that, and TikTok banned it again because of that. So, and I was again telling people I'll be on my YouTube in, I even posted the link here. That was 6 o'clock. I posted the link that I was coming here at 7:40. I waited 10 minutes till 7:50 before I come here because I thought at least that way there'll be a few waiting. So I posted videos here telling people I was coming. I posted videos on TikTok telling people I was coming. And I posted this link early telling people I was coming 40 minutes before I came. I waited another 10 minutes before I came. Still, no one came, Freddie. Halfway through my TikTok lives, Freddie. How can I do that when my TikTok lives only last 10 minutes? Maybe if my TikTok lives lasted more than 10 minutes, Freddie, I'd be able to do that. But I had I wasn't going to come here anyway. Originally, I was going to stay on TikTok, but as I say, they got it banned after 10 minutes. So, unfortunately, you know, I had no choice but to come here because they didn't they didn't my appeal. They said they won't approve it. My appeal for the TikTok ban, so they didn't approve it. I'm glad you think I'm humble, Charlie. I personally think I have a lot longer to go before I become humble. Um, yeah, but thank you for that. God bless you. Very kind comment. Let's see what else you wrote there. Father got you a. Hold on. Father got you a place in heaven. I do hope that's correct, Charlie. I do really hope that's correct. Yeah. And I hope I go there soon. Um, yeah, I hope I get there soon. Anyway, folks, that's it. I think 8 people. God bless you all for coming. Peace of Christ to you all. Um, yeah. Um, turn to the Lord Jesus Christ. Don't let Islam win. Um, yeah. God bless you all. Peace of Christ to you.